Okay, we're live.
All right. Welcome to another broadcast of WLJA Radio, Common Law Under God. Um, we don't have anybody coming in yet, and we may not for the whole broadcast. We can speculate about what that's about, but if you got your notices, you'll see that we're going to be talking about what what God has to say about the foreigners in our midst. And at some point, it seems like a lot of us have been foreigners one way or the other. Um, I'm going to just go through our prayer. Um, Heavenly Father, Most High, as we gather together tonight, once again to gain some clarity about how, with your guidance at every step of the way, we can overcome the growing evil which oppresses us. Help us discern those who are implementing that evil from those who are simply foreign to us. We thank you for allowing each one of us the chance to become your adopted sons and daughters, for our abilities to exert power over the powers of darkness, for our place at the table of your divine family, and for the chance to share in your sacred bounty. Forgive us our past acts of idolatry and teach us to seek the wisdom of your word every day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So jumping right into our topic tonight, it's maybe not the most discussed thing on the internet or among the people. I don't think the people really are noticing it much. I have some friends in Texas I hope would be on, but they're not. I have spoken with them, and they're not really worried, and they don't really want people coming down to Texas to help them because they don't really, these are some common law Texas people I'm talking about. Okay, to answer the question about what God's law has to say about foreigners, Exodus 22:12. That's Exodus 22:12. Thou shalt neither vex a foreigner nor oppress him, for ye were sojourners in the land of Egypt. Exodus 12:49. That's Exodus 12:49. The same law shall apply to the native as to the stranger who sojourns among you. Okay, that's pretty clear. Leviticus 24:22, verse 22. That's Leviticus chapter 24, verse 22. There shall be one standard for you. It shall be for the stranger as well as the native, for I am the Lord your God. And then there's Leviticus 19, verses 33 through 34. The foreigner residing among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself, for you were foreigners in Egypt. I am the Lord your God. And then there's Numbers, chapter 9, verse 14. That's Numbers chapter 9, verse 14. You shall have one ordinance, both for the sojourner and for him that was born in the land. And this was picked up again in the New Testament. Jesus quoting Isaiah chapter 56, verse 7, my house shall be a house of prayer for all nations. And again in Mark chapter 11, verse 17. Then there's, and I know that just mentioning various Bible figures who did this or did that does not necessarily mean that their actions were godly. However, you judge for yourself what God's attitude was toward these folks. Moses himself was married to a Midianite. Exodus chapter 2, verses 16 through 21. Now, I understand that the Old Testament is full of examples of how God was worried that there would be too much intermarrying among the uh, people who lived in surrounding countries, not because they were foreigners, but because they were idol worshippers. That was the reason. So let's try and be discerning about that. Other Bible figures, Caleb, who represented and led the tribe of Judah, was a Canaanite, Kenizzite. Numbers 32:12. That's Numbers 32:12. Rahab was a Canaanite. Joshua 2, verse 1 and 2. I believe she was the one that helped the spies who were coming in to assess the situation about their prospects of conquering Jericho. Also, Matthew 1, I guess she's mentioned in Matthew 1, verse 5. Ruth was a Moabite. That's in the book of Ruth, chapter 1, verse 4. Also verses 16 and 17. And these last two point out that King David descended from foreigners. Ruth, chapter 4, verses 13 through 16. Uriah was a Hittite, 2 Samuel, chapter 11, verse 3. And then finally, King David's elite personal regiment was Gittite, Philistines, 1 Chronicles, chapter 18, verse 17. So that's the Old Testament history, which carried over after the New Covenant. But aren't they coming to kill us? Isn't that, what we're being told, or what the innuendos are? So what are we supposed to do? Well, the answer is the same as the answer to any conflict or potential conflict that we have with anybody, with any people. Doesn't matter if they're foreigners, not foreigners, whether they happen to be acting as legal fiction persons at the time, whatever. They're still, as far as we can tell, they are living men and women, and we're going to presume that there are our fellow children of God. And that's what we presume when we do our 3-notice process, until they give us reason to presume otherwise by defaulting, which they invariably do. So, before we get to what we do, I want to emphasize that this does seem to be a very hyped up threat. Now, a lot of hyped up threats are meaningless, so there's always that. But let's say that all the hype has some truth behind it. And of course, this is going on, in Anglo-American as well as, other historically common law former countries around the world. Remember, there are no more countries. They're just private for-profit corporations that are claiming to be. There was, and I'm going a little out of order here, Frank, before you post the image of the map of continental United States, was going to point out to one of the United Kingdom, or former United Kingdom countries, I guess in Pakistan. Well, I'm not sure. No, I think this may have happened in England itself. the director of, you want to post that about the director of public prosecutions, and I'm assuming that means in the UK. Where it's got the picture of the man. You see?
So let me see if I have the right one.
It'd be the second one I sent, I think, or maybe it was later.
Is it Keir Starmer?
Yes,
tried to block
yes,
prosecution?
yes. That's it. That's it.
Ah, okay. Coming up.
Yeah, I think he's a British, a member of the corporate cabal, and for the Crown Corporation, among its subsidiaries and affiliates. So he's another cabal actor, and obviously had to have been also in 2004. I understand this report may be a little exaggerated as to the degree to which he was allegedly telling people that English children should keep quiet about being raped by Muslim rape gangs for the sake of diversity. That wasn't the explicit message, apparently, or they're denying it anyway. But if you believe in the, if there's smoke, there's fire kind of theory of how to discern when compulsive liars are telling the truth and when they're not. It sounds like that certainly there was a lot of news about the issue, and a lot of people in the UK getting highly upset, and some to the point of leaving their country and becoming foreigners themselves. I run into some of those. Anyway, the guy, the public prosecutor guy, cabal actor, got promoted apparently after that. Because there are various theories as to why they're bringing in these people. One is as an invading force. It may be all of these, none of these. Another reason would be that they could form a voting bloc. So it's the same theory. Remember, the Crown Corporation and all these corporations masquerading as countries, are pretty much on a very similar course of conduct as what the corporate governments are doing in the United States, because everybody signed on to various treaties with the corporate United Nations. So, but in our case, and that's why it's so important what we do on this continent. You want to pull up that I think it was actually the first one that I sent you, Frank. Why it's a bad idea to invade America. You there? I don't know if we've lost our sound or what.
I'm here. I have it up on my screen, but give me 1 minute. Coming up
maybe
here.
I need to hit refresh.
No. I lost you. Hey, Catherine, if you can hear me over the phone, I lost you on the call.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, when I hit refresh, it kicked me off the platform. Uh, okay. You can see it on your screen?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm trying to bring it up on
Hi, Janice.
the main screen.
Thanks for showing up. Feel free to post any question or to jump into the dialogue. There it is. I see it. Okay, y'all might want to just take a minute to look at the different ways that different parts of the continent can be characterized. And yeah, where we're from, what is that? CHP, CMP people? What is that? You recognize what that is, Frank?
I don't know what it is, but I like the comment on Northern California. I think that's funny.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, this part wouldn't be that tough. Yeah, not funny, but yeah. But the rest, um, and Michigan has gotten kind of a tough reputation too. Yeah, the militia types. And Illinois got the gangs. Ohio has a little bit of that going on. Anyway, but regardless of the sound bites that are used to describe different parts of the country, there's and I have not been able to back this up with anything, but I think it can be backed up as far as firepower. I'm not talking about military grade firepower necessarily, but handguns and long guns and all kinds of other more creative equipment has been the quantity of those has been a subject of speculation, at least by a number of people. And here's my understanding. It might not be right, but it sure makes sense to me. And before I say what the statistics seem to say, is there's another trend that I think, maybe this is wishful thinking, but I don't think so. And that is there tends to be a fleeing from corporate cabal, police departments, so-called sheriff's offices, and other armed offices of the corporate cabal masquerading as government. So they tend to be losing manpower. Now, some of those may be replaced by the so-called illegals. But that's going to be an awkward adjustment. Let's put it that way. I would think. All of a sudden, you have a whole bunch of new people who don't speak the language as their first language, jumping in and being maybe resented by the ones that are left because their buddies were driven out because of these people. Lots of dynamics could be going on. In light of that, with that as a background, all speculation, of course, some say that the stats are that when you add up the people's firepower from the West Coast to the East Coast, and their combined firepower compared to the combined firepower of the so-called police department, sheriff's offices, the UN, National Guards, Army, the various, and realize the military is just another part of the corporate cabal. A lot of them have been sent to other parts of the world. In any case, turns out apparently that the people had about 100 times the firepower of all of those cabal groups combined, even when you factor in United Nations peacekeepers, so called. So, but what's nicer yet is that it's spread out, and there's a terrain advantage in that any conquering force is going to be on our terrain, on the people's terrain. It's always better strategically to know your terrain and have the enemy not know it as well. Yeah, probably a bad idea. So, if we can get that out of the way, that how much of a threat are these foreigners that may or may not be coming over in droves, knowing that they're not wanted, and apparently a lot of them are recently released from corporate dungeons in their own so-called countries, deservedly so many times, for violent crimes. Now we've got, but not to be outdone by anybody in the UK, Senator Marsha Blackburn says arrest warrants and deportation notices should immediately mean a ticket out of the country. So I don't know who's footing the bill for all these plane rides from their native country to here and then back again. But Marsha Blackburn is getting political traction, saying that illegal immigrants with arrest warrants should be arrested and not cleared to board a plane. Well, it would seem that, well, of course, you have to understand their arrest warrants are without authority. But if they were with authority, if we the people started issuing our own orders constituting arrest warrants, there's no reason that it should make any difference if that arrest warrant is for someone who's suspected of or actually has been convicted of a crime, who's a native man or woman, or somebody who's a foreigner. Why should that matter? So there's just something about this that seems to me that is trying to whip up a frenzy of fear and loathing because of country of origin. And maybe to make up for the fact that they don't really have much of an offensive operation to begin with. Of course, Orange Man is also getting political traction by promoting the so-called illegals as the threat of all threats. And you have that where Trump calls the Missouri lawmaker after the daughter and son-in-law were allegedly killed by a Haitian gang. You have that one. It was a great photo op for Orange Man. The alleged victims were a couple who apparently were the sons and the daughter and son-in-law of a friend or a politician there in, where was it, Missouri? Natalie and Davy Lloyd Um, and then oh, a fellow by the name of Baker apparently was the father of the girl. He just, you know, he posted that, "Thank you, Mr. President. Just got off the phone with Donald J. Trump. He was just calling to give condolences to us and to the family for Davy and Natalie. He really does care about people." He said, "I couldn't believe how beautiful these two young people were. They looked like models." Anyway, seems like an odd thing to say, in the wake of a tragedy, but we've all come to expect this from Orange Man, so nothing new here. Then have you got the YouTube short that I sent you about the 342 Chinamen of military age reportedly entered the country? Frank? Anyway, I don't know that it's necessary to pull it up, but it was a YouTube short. Hi, Keith. Wow. Keith reports that it took 22 minutes to get connected. What happened, Keith? Can you talk? I guess not. Maybe there's something wrong with your mic. There's something. Can you make it play? Can we get sound with that?
These are fit-looking young. You don't get out of China unless they let you. His last year in office under President Trump, we apprehended 342 military-age men from China. 342. Last year, we apprehended 22,000, and we've already apprehended 27,000 this year. That's 50-some thousand, and we still have 7 months to go.
Yeah.
From China. You could argue they're building an army. I mean, these are fit-looking young, and you don't get out of China unless they let you. His last year in office.
Oh, wow. It's much bigger numbers than I had recalled. Yeah. Well, I think they've been, I understand there have been Chinese communities forming in Ohio. And if they're peaceable, that's, some of them probably are even Christians. I don't know. It's a different matter if they're violent, and if we feel threatened by them. We have a reason to think. I can't hear it. No, I can't hear anything, Frank.
Oh, I was asking Keith if he can hear you.
Oh, okay. I think Keith can't make his mic work. Maybe. Are you on mute, Keith? Yeah. Look, it's got an X through his mic.
Yeah, I tried unmuting him, but it says can't unmute guest because he has his mic muted.
Keith, you've got your mic muted. So unmute your mic so we know. I just like to hear. Can you do that? Can you click on the mic and unmute it? I'm just curious as to why it took 22 minutes to get connected. Wanted to mention too, as far as technical stuff in doing YouTube, which I don't know. I suppose we'll carry on with YouTube as long as we're paid up, but I'm not allowed to comment on YouTube at all, including my own broadcast. So I would like to be able to add things at times, but that's not going to happen. So I think we have a tentative link for Odyssey, but we haven't followed through on that. Yeah, go ahead, Frank. What are your comments about YouTube?
Well, this last video, I see a lot of this. I see all kinds of links shared, and what comes up in my feed is a lot of people trying to make me afraid of what I'm not sure.
Well, are you getting some threats?
No, I'm seeing a lot of distraction. I'm no, like this guy who's saying there's 27,000 Chinese
Yes.
a year coming across the border.
Right.
So why
Yep.
is there an uptick in this kind of information? Is it real or not real?
We don't know. We don't know. I mean, I would be suspicious of anything based on the source. We know these people lie, so why should any of their information be accurate? At the same time, there might be something to it. I hate to venture into this area, but to use as an analogy, but with the recent, planned, poison needles in our arms, there was sort of something maybe to that. Although we came to learn that there was no such thing as a VIRUS, and a lot of people aren't ready to face that yet. I understand. It's probably, the explanation for what has been called that is that it's cellular debris. But with that operation, there was just lie upon lie after lie, and the lies are continuing, even though many of them have been exposed. For example, the one pharmaceutical product that starts with the letter I and ends in the letter N, that is known as a horse dewormer. So it's got vermifuge properties. The controlled op has been pushing that a long time. Well, ever since the operation, the planned operation with the poison needles started. So there's some evidence that sounds more likely that apparently the statistics for excess deaths prior to the poison needle were not significant statistically. So the simplified version is that there was nothing out there. It was all a lot of hype in order to get people to run to get the poison needle. And once that happened, then, we get, these reports of excess deaths. And maybe they're accurate, maybe they're exaggerated, maybe they're underestimated. I think most of us have had the experience of knowing people who have collapsed and then gone to meet their maker suddenly, following, having gone to the drugstore and received one of those poison needles. So, yeah. So it's a combination, You know, I think if they wouldn't be very effective if every single thing that came out of their mouth was completely 100% false from beginning to end. They have to sprinkle a little bit of truth in here and there to maintain some credibility. Although it wouldn't really matter, because some people are going to believe what they see and hear on CNN no matter what. So, you know, I don't know what to tell you about those people. But the thing about the big bad foreign invaders, I mean, that has been a strategy that's been talked about ever since Stalin and Goebbels, and you know, in the Third Reich, talked about the importance psychologically when you're going to be trying to control a large group of people is to give them an external threat. And one thing you can do, you can engage people into, which I see here, as well as in during the time of the Third Reich. We're special people. We're Aryans. We're this. We're that. And then Americans are really eat up with it, aren't they? Oh, we're Americans. We're better than other people. And when you get into that, then it's like, and if you don't agree, and if you want to keep your traditions that may not have originated on the American continent, then we have no use for you, and we will demonize you every chance we get. They can get people probably to commit acts that they would otherwise not commit if they can get people to despise and fear a foreigner. There's just something psychologically about that. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I don't know. Is everybody able to see the posting on the chat on the stream? Yeah. I hate to venture too much into that area because saying just the wrong word can get the entire video banned. So, but I'm just using it as an analogy to whether to the degree of confidence we can have in the truth of what they're telling us about the big bad foreigners. I think anytime you're a foreigner, you know, you're going to be at a disadvantage anyway. So if to go to a place where you don't speak the language and try and accomplish some kind of mission involving aggression, that sounds like, I don't know, that doesn't sound like an attractive possibility for a lot. I think most people, if they're told they have to do this, they would have to be forced to do this. You know, you start killing people, or we're going to kill you. And so I don't know. It feels like desperation to me, the tactic of saying, oh, but look out for that stranger danger, you know, stranger danger. You got to be careful. Let's see, what was the other? But here's the thing. That's not to say that there isn't such a thing as street crime, and there's not such a thing as gangs that organize along ethnic and country of origin lines. Now, there's a group. It's sort of a neighborhood watch kind of a thing in Cleveland now, and I posted on Facebook, asked them to contact me. Of course, they haven't. But certainly, we the people can and should be organizing just enough so we can patrol our own neighborhoods, just to keep an eye on what's going on, who's walking around here. And in addition to that, and we may have talked about this before on the broadcast, but I wanted to post the images of the Castle Doctrine sign. As individuals, what we can do as individual people, we are entitled to assert what our rights are on our own property in the form of the Castle Doctrine. And that's been around for hundreds of years, and that's the concept. It's well established in Anglo-American law. And if you can find that, Frank, and post that, maybe people can read along with us what the Castle Doctrine is, and keep in mind too, it's well supported in the Cabal's own corporate statutes and codes. Oh, for persons, not for people, of course, because they don't have anything for people, since they have no authority over people. But if they did, they have a Castle Doctrine statute, and I can cite that statute for you. I'll cite it now, and then I'll cite it again after Frank pulls up the Castle Doctrine warning sign. And we have a version of it in English, and we have a version of it in Spanish. I figure one of the two languages is probably going to be understood by whoever might be wanting to come up onto our properties. And of course, having your land gated, locked, and bars at your windows. Who thought we'd have to do this in America? Well, maybe that's a good idea. I keep telling people to do that, and they whine and whimper, and they don't see how they could manage it. And, well, I think you need to do that. I have that where I am, and I'm glad to have it. All my neighbors do the same thing. We're not wealthy people. Okay, here's the Castle Doctrine warning. The people who are domiciled... Did you get it pulled up yet, Frank? Yes.
I can only find the text here, not the sign.
Oh, well, this is good enough. You're going to have to make your own sign. The people who are domiciled, and that means that's different than being a resident, remember. You live there and you intend to stay there. On this part of the landmass known as Ohio, are protected by the common law Castle Doctrine. Now, our English version is a little longer because the audience for this Castle Doctrine is not just the criminals who are foreign born who may be wanting to invade our homes and our lands. It's for the ones that work in the corporate cabal, so-called law enforcement corporations. So, which, as we've discussed before, their United States Supreme Court and others of their so-called courts have admitted they don't have any duty to protect or serve us. None. Anyway, one of the things they do, though, is they do have a duty to their employer, the corporation. They have a duty to generate revenue. Part of what we're trying to get people a little bit interested in is to join us in any of our group claims in which corporate code enforcers are involved and who are going around threatening people merely with their presence because they're armed. They have no business being armed when they're acting as legal fictions. When they're acting as people and, at home, they have the same right as the God-given right to self-protection, the same as anybody does. But you work for the cabal and your duty is not to protect or serve. You don't need a firearm. You can generate revenue without being intimidating, without committing an armed assault. So this Castle Doctrine sign in English is meant to apply both to the foreign invader as well as to the more domestic terrorist invader. So the people, of course, have the right to defend themselves, their home, their private property, their private conveyances, their family members, and their guests by the use of any means of self-defense, including without limitation the use of deadly force. The sovereign people are not required to retreat when attacked in their homes or on their lands. Trespassers have no right to enter or search the people's homes with or without a so-called warrant. And nothing located on or about this land is worth dying for. So, anybody want to comment on that before we put up the Spanish version of it, which doesn't deal with the warrant thing? Y'all know what a warrant is. A warrant is just an assault. It's a verbal assault. It's a self-serving statement that we're going to go over to, where you live and we're going to search for something or someone, and we think we're justified in doing that. We might find something. What they could find, since they have no duty to protect or serve anybody else, I don't know that if there's any Spanish speakers that are watching this, they can see this as an abbreviated but still equivalent post as the one we just went through, including the part at the end, no vale la pena morir por nada de lo que se encuentra en esa tierra o en sus alrededores. So, we let them know that, this is not the hill you should be trying to die on. So, somebody might want to get creative and put it in Chinese too, just in case. You can put it in various parts of your property, and you can also put, and I would maybe put this, I don't know, your property's going to get kind of busy after a while with these signs, but one of them is the traditional no trespass sign with a fee schedule. And did I send you that, Frank? I think I did.
I don't have that one.
Okay, yeah, maybe not. Maybe not.
I just said posted the never mind the dog, beware of the owner.
Okay, I wanted to mention the statute in Ohio, which uses the specific language of no duty to retreat, is 2901.09. That's 2901.09.
So,
And go ahead.
so even in their statutes, they mention this.
Yes, it's a dumbed down version. They don't talk about the use of deadly
Right.
force, but yeah. Yep. And of course, it only applies to occupants and persons, and so.
Yeah, and then they use a lot of stipulations and, watered down versions, like you said.
Right. So anyway, it's kind of on another note and more appropriate for the private code enforcers, because they're on your property sniffing around for the money. They're doing revenue generation, and so the no trespassing sign. I have two different versions. No trespassing, big letters. Any attempt to enter by force will constitute your consent, in all caps, consent to the following charges. First, trespass, 5,000 United States dollars. And keep in mind that when we in common law use the term United States dollars in our notices, as we put in our definition section in our notices, a United States dollar, we're going to accept their definition of a United States dollar according to it was 1791, I think, and another one in 1900 and something, a Currency Act, where they define a dollar to be a specific weight in a certain number of grains of gold or another number in silver. So even if the FRNs go down the drain, we're going to keep hanging on to their definition of what a United States dollar is. Doesn't matter what happens to the FRN. Second trespass, 50,000 United States dollars. Third trespass, 500,000 United States dollars. Payment required in advance. There's another no trespass sign addressed to door knockers. No solicitation. This property charges $500 per minute to listen to any. I've got the word you can't say, or medical advice. You could modify that if you're concerned about so-called CPS people coming to your house, to $500 to listen to anything that they have to say, really, to any concerns that you express about anything pertaining to me or my family. By knocking or ringing the doorbell, you agree to the terms above. So you create a contract that way, and they consider that to be, and the common law has historically considered a contract to be created by specific words, I accept your contract, I accept your offer, or by conduct, which indicates that you accept the offer. So we explicitly tell them what conduct they can engage in that will mean that they have accepted our offer. So the no trespass sign is really an offer, to if you enter by force, then you will be consenting to the following fee schedule. And you have to pay it before you enter by force. So if you don't, then then we're entitled to treat them as we would any other trespasser. Okay. And then I also have I think you put that up, the Castle Doctrine in Spanish. So that's pretty much it. I don't think I just wanted to do this broadcast to get people to be not as fearful and a little more rational about this threat or the statement of a threat, and not get carried away with it. We're not defenseless. We can defend ourselves. If we had more people, we could defend ourselves better, obviously. But we have means at our disposal to defend ourselves, and we just have to stop buying into their threats. So I guess we chased Janice away.
No, there's, I think, a question posted in the group comments.
What am I missing here? Did I miss one of her questions? Yeah, we had a lot of comments about the last fiasco that the cabal ran past us. Okay, well, okay, and here I see you posted something, Frank. Speaking as a Texan, I see a lot of folks who get riled up by foreigners. Do you think that Texans are any more riled up by foreigners than anybody else?
I haven't lived in that many states, but it doesn't seem that different here in Texas.
Well, the people I know in the common law court in Texas didn't seem at all concerned to me. There was a time that a few people were talking about, let's round up a bunch of folks, and we're going to go down to Texas and help those people. I don't think they want that. That is the impression I got anyway. Luciana's on. Hi, Luciana.
Hey, how are you? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
It's been a long day.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just getting in here to listen.
Yeah, I briefly mentioned that link you sent me earlier today about how much safer we can actually be with a group, a patrol, a neighborhood patrol.
Right.
And
yeah. I have to look more in step because, like, it was crazy that one of the guys, actually, police tried to harass one of the guys because he was walking around the neighborhood with a gun in plain view, walking around, patrolling the neighborhood with a few other people.
This was in Cleveland, right?
Yeah, in a bad neighborhood, Cleveland. But, we got to take care of our own,
I'm trying to find the there it is, Neighborhood Patrol. The name of it, and they're on Facebook, and they've been operating for a couple, 3 years. What's our community, our responsibility.
Yeah, I just found out about them today from another coworker. And this is something we were just talking about yesterday or the day before, and they've already implemented this a couple years ago.
Yes, yeah. I got the impression that they've been going for a while now. I don't. I'm nervous about some little comments they made on their Facebook page about that. Oh, we're gonna maybe basically contract ourselves out to the city. No,
Yeah, I
no.
think they would benefit probably from learning more. I don't think they are well educated as far as what their rights really are. You know,
I don't think so either. I
like,
posted that maybe that I posted that we liked what they were doing and we might be able to help them and vice versa. All we really need is the idea. We don't need them personally, and they ought to stay in their neighborhood and we stay in ours. But their idea is worth copying. But not if they start co-opting themselves with alliances to the cabal. They got an awful lot of people there, and it just makes me wonder if who's paying for this? Who's paying for the shirts and the whatever?
Like I said, I just found out about it today at work, and I wanted to look more into it. That's why when I found out about it, I emailed it to you right away. And so I'm going to look into it a little bit.
I posted, invited him to email me, and nothing. So, but they have more concerns that are in immediate jeopardy in their neighborhood than people in other parts of Ohio may think that they have in their neighborhoods.
Yeah, this is a pretty rough neighborhood.
And it seems like people don't wait people tend to wait until it's beyond urgent before they do anything.
Yeah.
And it could be, a lot easier to be proactive. So, I don't know. I hope to hear from him, but anyway.
Hi, Frank, and hi, Keith.
Hey, Lucianne.
Okay, I think we're just about ready to wrap it up, and thanks for participating, those of you who did, and we'll be, anybody want to comment on the stranger danger, routine that we're being subjected to, and we know it's a tried and true strategy by oppressors, so which kind of makes me think, just like with Q's been done before. It was I'll call it Operation. I keep getting it mixed up whether it was Operation Trust or Operation Hope. I think it was Operation Trust when the Bolsheviks were overrunning Russia and appealing to people's laziness. Don't worry, be happy. We got, we're a group of committed, retired, conscientious military, and we got this. We got this. Don't worry about it. And so they didn't. They got massacred.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
well, I'll remind people again that, you can reach me at 614-633-0215. That's 614-633-0215. or my email is WLJAradio@AOL.com. Again, that's WLJAradio@AOL.com. And
That WLJA, sorry, it wasn't, I think, until maybe late last year, early this year, that I realized that WLJA stood for With Liberty and Justice for All.
oh, okay, yeah. And there's actually archived interviews from like 2015 to 2017 or so that we did in the name of WLJA before I woke up, when it was like all we could do was say, ain't it awful, ain't it awful, ain't it awful. We can't do anything. It's, the courts are so corrupt. We didn't know they weren't courts then, and now we do. And so we also have a website, as any court should have, to show its docket, show what it's done, show who the people are. We're very transparent, and that address is www.occr2021.com. Yep. So you can see what we've done, and anybody who has a claim, who's been harmed by another man or woman, I don't care, what letters they have behind or in front of their names, or what corporation they might or might not work for. If every harm we suffer is brought on by a man or a woman. Now, I will grant you that there are some very dark forces influencing those people.
Very, very dark.
Very dark, and there's some Christian broadcasts explaining how that works. And I invite people to look up Pastor Don Gallardi, Gallardi, and his series of lectures on the hidden realm. It gives a deeper understanding, I think, of Scripture and where we may be in the course of history. So.
I don't know if the validity of this report, I don't know if anybody has heard, I'm sure maybe you all have heard it, that Russia was conducting some kind of exercises with rocket testing off of the coast of Florida, 60 miles off the coast. Anybody hear about that?
I knew that they had set up something in Cuba. So I figure that there's gonna be a lot of saber rattling, maybe worse, maybe false flags. And who's causing that? Who's bringing that about? It's just people. So I don't know.
Yeah, someone just Janice Hicks just commented. Also, Russian nuclear submarines, I guess, are off the coast as well.
Well, I think they're bringing back conscription, the draft. And so they have to back that up with a credible sounding threat, preferably from the outside.
Yeah, and also too, there was Biden had agreed to give Ukraine a bundle of money today at the G7 conference.
Oh yeah, I saw something about that. Yeah.
So that may be why, you know, we're seeing some of this going on. Of course, we're just antagonizing the situation right now.
Mhm. I wonder, you know, if they're ready to really follow through on, you know, the mass destruction that they have in mind on the American continent.
Mm.
Yeah, it's all good and well to do it in Ukraine, but they usually have some other purpose. You know, like, you know, Pearl Harbor, for example. I think they were trying to get rid of some antiquated equipment anyway. So I don't know. I think we just have to do what we have to address the threats that are within our sphere of influence. Will be more effective that way. And I think I'm going to address next time about, you know, the psychological, you know, features of this. Why, you know, we don't have more people willing to organize, and then there's, you know, the background of the poisoning. So, yeah.
There's been such a long history of indoctrinating the minds of people from the time of their birth, you know, and then people just cannot imagine the fact that these people have no authority over us. You know, they are not the final decider. You know, but they're taught to keep running back to them and keep running back to them, knowing they're the ones that have caused so much harm.
Believing them after they've lied so many times before.
Exactly. Well, filing one more thing should change it, right?
Yeah, right.
One of their bar member buddies is gonna stand up and find them accountable, right?
Not gonna happen.
Nope.
They're as dumbed down as anybody, if not more so.
Crazy. I mean, how many years does it take somebody to keep filing, having everything dismissed, and not, how many years does it take before someone realizes this is not going to work in their corporations and realize the reason why?
They keep telling themselves it's the only game in town.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's not.
Well, people need to turn back to God and look at what He tells us, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, people don't like to stand out. People don't want to stand out. And, you know, everybody else is doing it. Everybody else is going to their courts. I can't be different. They'll talk about me. You know?
Yeah. Well, we're going to just keep building our infrastructure and as best we can. So I thank all of you, and we'll be back again in another 2 weeks and address another problem that has a common law solution to it, which is all of them. So, thanks everybody, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Catherine, and thanks everybody for joining.
Good to see you all.
Thanks, Luciana.
God bless you all.
God bless you too.
God bless. Take care.